to continue. But right now, I've got one of the big characters, I suppose, not just of London politics, but of British politics. But he's working towards the biggest piece of pie, which is to be Mayor of London. And I'm bringing you all the interviews with as many of the prospective mayoral candidates as I can. We've spoken to Sadiq Khan from Labour, Zach Goldsmith from the Conservative UKIPs, Peter Whittle, Sean Berry from the Greens, and Caroline Pugin yesterday for the Liberal Democrats. And as I say, now we have Mr. George Galloway from the Respect Party, who wants to be Mayor of London. How are you, George?
I'm very good. I thought you handled that last call about alcoholism very, very well. I'm a non-drinker, lifelong non-drinker.
You never drunk?
Never in my life, and nor my father before me. But I do know, and it's one of the reasons why I'm glad my father taught me the way he did, I do know the devastation that alcohol brings to many people's lives.
Yeah, I suppose one of the things that we should start with, perhaps you and I, is if we're talking about devastation. When I walk, and I take my walk so I can make my phone calls to people from here down to Holborn or Liverpool Street or whatever, I see the numbers of people who are homeless on our streets. Just did a piece with Tom Bateman about places being built. You want to be Mayor of London. Do you recognise that there is a crisis and it is a big problem for London?
It's the biggest crisis facing the mayoralty, facing the government, not just the people that are literally sleeping on the streets, though heaven knows there are thousands of those, but the people who are sleeping on other people's floors, people sleeping on their sofas because somebody else is on the floor, people, I was going to call them kids, but I'm talking about 35-year-old men and women living still with their parents at home with no chance of getting a house in the area where their parents, their extended family are living, and thus being pushed further and further to the edge.
What would you do, George?
Well, I'd have a crash house building program. When we were bankrupt after the Second World War, we built 250,000 council houses a year. Last year in London, we built 81 in a city where hundreds of thousands of people are on the waiting list. But of course, that's going to take time. There are things that can be done now. There are hundreds of thousands, maybe 800,000 houses in London that weren't bought as houses at all, but just as safety deposit boxes for
so
hot money.
Empty properties.
Yeah, hot money
what
from
are you going to
overseas.
do about that? I mean,
I'm going to tax them.
George Osborne has already levied a tax on them.
I'm going to land tax them, and I'm going to compulsorily purchase them if that doesn't work. So any house that's been empty for more than a year without good excuse will be compulsorily purchased by me if I'm the mayor. And that'll soon get them on their toes, I think. They'll soon realise with that combination of tax and compulsory purchase that that game is over, that show is over, the party's finished. And we can't have people hiding their money in London in houses in which nobody lives.
Let's talk transport. And broad strokes here, of course. Hopefully we get you back in, all the candidates, and we're able to press a little more. But transport, okay, 1%, it's going up by the rate of inflation. We're supposed to be grateful for that. More people, I think 18 times this year, the transport network reached record numbers. So people are using it. It costs a bit though, doesn't it?
Well, we've got the most expensive public transport in the world, as well as the highest rents and the highest house prices in the entire world, bar none. But before I say something about that, in that walk that you take down to Holborn, you're of course breathing in polluted air that nearly 10,000 people a year in London are dying from. And so one of the things I'm going to tackle is the chronic congestion here caused by too many cars, too many of them licensed private hire taxis, that TfL has been handing out licences left, right and centre to every Tom, Dick and Harry, nearly 100,000
You don't have
new
the power to
cabs.
stop that.
Yeah, we do. TfL can stop it, and they must put a cap on the number of private hire cabs. But I'm going to ban trucks and heavy vehicles from inner London between dawn and dusk. That's to save the lives of cyclists, the limbs of cyclists, and the lungs of everybody.
Still the way that food gets moved around, still the way that we move things.
Has to be done in the evening and through the night. London will have to become a 24-hour city with a 24-hour tube and 24-hour deliveries.
Are you planning on sitting, Mr. Mayor, if you are elected, around a table with the unions?
Yes, and I think I'm in a very good position to deal with the unions. I've been a union man all of my life. And when it comes to the 24-hour tube, we've got to get agreement. The RMT's in favour of the 24-hour tube. They're
At a cost.
just not in favour of being made to walk the plank over it. You have to take your people with you. You have to take your employees with you. If the BBC Radio London management came in here now and said, Eddie, you're so good, I'm going to extend your show by 3 hours. You're going to have to sit here for double the time. You might say, well, all right, but what's on the table for it?
Well,
what am I getting in terms of time off? What am I getting in terms of extra money?
You have no idea how close you are, George. You have no idea.
Well, there you go.
The thing is that, you and Sadiq are quite similar in that you come with a history. Are you worried that in any way, shape or form, that history might hinder your opportunity of becoming Mayor of London?
I'm really not. London is such a cosmopolitan place, with 53% of the population being from the minorities. The minorities are the majority in London. I have solid support in all of those communities. And as a Labour and Union man, I've got solid support amongst the working class, whatever colour they are. So on my team, I've got former dockers, former printers, not least because I was on the picket lines with both of them in the 1980s. I was kicked by a police horse down at Wapping and carried off in an ambulance. I picketed there every Saturday night. The printers, ex-printers now, are right behind me, as are many of the dockers, many of the Ford motor workers from Dagenham. So I can reach the minority communities. I can reach the working class from all communities.
What do
and
people
I've got to
at
get the
Bethnal
turnout
Green
up.
and Bow say about you, do you think?
Well, I won a sensational victory there, as you know, in
Yes.
2005. I took a seat off one of Mr. Blair's most famous MPs.
And the King.
And,
But it was
and I
about the
defeated
war,
him.
was it? Would that play a part, do you think,
Yeah, because
in what's happening now?
I almost said which war, because I've almost forgotten now. We've been in so many since, and we're about to go into some more. I'm just
Will
looking
that
at the
play out
screen.
in London politics?
Yeah,
is what I'm
definitely.
asking.
I mean, this election is not just about the length of the pedestrianisation of Oxford Street, though that's important.
Well, it may be about whether or not you believe that we should have get rid of pedicabs. It may be should we have the cycle superhighway. You see, London politics means that people will vote for you depending on what matters to them.
Yeah, but what war and peace, of course, matters to everybody, not least because of the terrorist threat, which our perpetual war has conjured forth, as I predicted that it would, including on your radio show. And so the danger that faces people in London is one of the issues in this election. And I will be the best man to protect Londoners because I know where this terrorism is coming from. I know why it's coming, and I know how to tackle it and how to face it. So everything's important. Pedicabs, Uber, the length of the pedestrianisation of Oxford Street, and the war.
How did you get here tonight?
I came by car because I'm going on to the East End afterwards.
So, are you a bus, a tube user? You ride a bike here in London?
All of the above.
I
My wife is
can't
from.
imagine you riding a bike.
Oh, I'll show you the pictures.
Not with that.
I'll show you the pictures. My wife is from Amsterdam. She's my cycling advisor. Amsterdam's very big on cycling. That's why I'm bringing in the truck and heavy vehicle ban to save the cyclists.
George, we'll talk again coming towards May the 4th,
God
but I
willing.
would like you to do what I've asked everybody to do, to give me 30 seconds now on why George Galloway should be the next Mayor of London.
Well, London needs a leader, not a reader. I'll employ other people to do the reading, the policy wonking. What London needs is a champion for the majority. This city is exceptionally rich, but it has to be a London for all, not just for those dripping in gold. I've got more experience than all the other candidates put together, almost 30 years in Parliament, and prominent in politics even before going into Parliament. I think a big figure is what London needs.
George Galloway, thank you very much. That's the Respect Party's George Galloway stating his claim for Mayor of London. Of course, those elections happen May the 4th.